Yeah, I'm really excited as well. So I'm about to introduce the next speaker. His name is Bas Korsten, and he's joining us from Bokstel, actually. So it's a home game for him. Everybody who's from the north, Bokstel, small city, town, close to Eindhoven. He is the only creative in the Ad Age Top 100, and he just got back from Cannes, where he was a speaker. You can tell he's really tan because he was chilling on the beach all day while we were working. I'm just kidding. He's the creative brain behind the next Rembrandt, and he's going to talk to us about how to create an army of super creatives. So please give a big round of applause for the first speaker of today, Bas Korsten.
Hello, hello. Good morning. Before I'm going to start the talk, I want to say something about me personally. I really like world domination. And, well, actually, it's intergalactic domination, but my mother said always finish your world domination first before you move on to bigger things. Now, maybe that also explains a bit of the title of my talk here, Building an Army of Super Creatives. Because if you want to reach intergalactic domination, then an army of super creatives is always very handy and welcome. The only thing is, that because I can hear you think, but Bas, if you want intergalactic domination, is it wise to spread your wisdom on how to build an army of super creatives? Because everyone else is going to build one, and then you're going to have to fight harder. Well, I'm here now, you're here now, so let's just do it. My name is Bas Korsten. I'm a creative partner at JWT Amsterdam, also global creative lead at the same company. And that last title also explains a bit about the need for an army of super creatives. In 2016, I did this project. It was called The Next Rembrandt. And it was a 3D printed painting made out of algorithms that actually learned how to think and paint like Rembrandt. At the end of the film that I did on this project, I said, the next Rembrandt, what's next? And when I started thinking about what was next, I actually thought, okay, now algorithms are quite smart and creative, but actually I want the humans to win. So can I look into creativity and the brain, and can I maybe use technology to see if we can enhance and improve human creativity? And then I read an article about this man, and this is Tom Brady. He's the quarterback of the New England Patriots, 6-time Super Bowl winner. And he trains his body for like 4 hours a day, but he also trains his brain for 2 hours a day. So he has an app for brain-impaired people, and he trains to shave like milliseconds of his reaction time, so when he gets the snap, that he can basically spot the opportunity as fast as possible. He's 42. So what do we do as creatives to train our brain on a daily basis? Because creativity, and we can talk long and short about this, but it's still the defining factor in our industry. We can be super relevant, we can be super pinpointed and targeted, but in the end, it's going to be creativity that's going to convince people, that's going to take people on an emotional journey. So creativity is super important. There's a nice quote of this man, you might know, Steve Jobs. And he says, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. And I really like this quote, because also it sums up for me some of the feelings that I'm getting, have been getting recently about the industry and about the need for grip and control. And I think the trust and the fact that you have to surrender to creativity for you to for it to allow you to grow your client's business, I think that's something that we really need in our industry. We have to trust creativity because it's imperative to the progression of civilization and central to cultural life. Of course, that's not something that I came up with. I read that in a book somewhere. But as I just said, it is focal to our profession of advertising, communication, and branding. But what do we do? Not a lot. Like I said, athletes train their body. Why don't we train our brain? We should invest in what is still the core of our business. But let's look at creativity from a neuroscience perspective, because that's what this talk is about. And how can we use this knowledge and these insights to actually enhance and improve creativity with these insights that we're getting from neuroscience. Neuroscience allows us to look into the brain and see what's happening in the brain and how we can actually use those insights to influence creativity. And I think it's good to look at creativity in a specific model, which is the dual pathway to creativity. And it talks about divergent thinking, which is about coming up with lots of solutions for one single problem. That's called divergent thinking, brainstorming. And there's convergent thinking, which is basically coming up with one specific solution to one specific problem. So I'm going to make this is divergent, and this is convergent. It's very easy. If you look at creativity in the brain, and I think if you look at the Steve Jobs quote, it was about connecting the dots. It is about all the information that we basically gather in our brain, images, memories, sounds, smells, and how we connect them and how we're able to connect them in our brain. That connectivity, that plasticity of our brain, that's actually what's going to make you more creative or less creative. Well, I mean, to be honest, everyone is creative. You just have people that are higher creative and they're lower creative. And how does that manifest itself? It's about the amount of gray matter in the brain and the amount of relations that you can make in a short amount of time. It is about how you're able to switch between these different parts of your brain and how fast you can do that and how often you can do that. And I like this one a lot. It's about how diffuse your attention is. Inefficient reallocation of attention. And I really like inefficiency. In this world, that sounds like a really weird thing, but being inefficient, taking too much time, not focusing, is actually a good thing when it comes to creativity. Remember that when somebody says you have to be more efficient. So if we know this is all about making the connections in your brain and making sure you're in a specific state, your brain is in a specific state for you to be more creative, let's look at ways of how we can actually enhance the creativity. I came up with this idea of the Brain Project. And the Brain Project, I did that with Alpha.1 neuroscience company, University of Rotterdam. And actually, this is one of those slides that you go like, you shouldn't put all that stuff on a slide. But it's just to show you that I'm serious about the project. It works. Good. But actually, you should focus on the stuff in the middle, because that's about the 8 interventions that we selected coming out of recent research, that actually shows that the impact of these interventions on the brain. So what I want to do is select 8 offices around the world, well actually 9 because we want a control office, and have these 8 offices each have an intervention for 6 months. We measured the creativity in the brain before, we measured the creativity in the brain afterwards, MRI, EEG, but we also measure the output, the ideas basically. As I said, 8 interventions to enhance human creativity. Let me start by this one. Nature actually improves creativity. There was a test done with a group of hikers, and they basically went into nature for 4 days. And they had to leave all their technology behind, so no phones, no whatever. And when they came back, 4 days, they were able to creatively problem solve better, 40% over the average. How was that measured? Well, basically, there's different ways of measuring that, but one is a test that they do where they ask you to come up with non-common uses for common objects. So I ask you, how many ways can you use a spoon? Well, the normal thing, of course, is for eating, but you can also do an egg race. You can also dig a grave. You can also, get creative. But the amount of uses that you can come up with is actually a way to measure creativity. And they were able to do that much better when they came back from nature. And the reason for that is nature brings you in a state of low arousal. So the way that the leaves on the trees move brings you in this state that actually makes you more creative, because it allows you to connect better in your brain, because you're not focused, you're not super focused on the things that asks stuff from you on a daily basis, like technology. So the fact that you actually go into nature, spend time there, and that means like sitting at the beach, going out of the office for a walk, that's all part of nature. Think about that, because it's a very easy way to boost creativity. If you go to a doctor in Scotland, he's probably going to prescribe you to take a walk in the woods rather than a low blood pressure medicine. In Scotland, they're quite advanced in using nature to actually, as a remedy for cures, for diseases. Well, this is people hiking. It was that, or it was one of my holiday picks for how did it get in here. But this one works fine. So this one is slightly less surprising, mindfulness. If you're creatively problem solving, so you're working and you're trying to come up with an idea, and you're getting stuck, then it's really good to actually go away, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, because subconsciously your mind keeps going back to the solutions that you came up with initially. So if you want to reset your brain, then mindfulness is a great way to do that. It's a small little intervention, but actually it can work wonders when it comes to, it can help you creatively problem solve to 50% better if you do this little reset and allow your brain to start thinking in different directions, making new connections. Now this is my favorite. It could have said moving, by the way, because we need to move. I mean, in this society that we live in, there's this idea of you have mind and you have body, but actually it's one. It is one. And you're all sitting, I'm walking, I'm doing the right thing, you're all sitting, you shouldn't be sitting, you should be standing, you should be walking, because when you move, your brain grows. When you sit still, your brain shrinks. Actually shrinks, it gets smaller. And when you move, new brain cells get made, and the connectivity in your brain increases. So do meetings while you walk. That's why Steve Jobs designed Apple Park the way he did. It was about walking, doing meetings while walking, because he had read in the Stanford research that stimulated creativity. So that's moving. Now, if you do cardio, the photo that you see here is of an American high school, Naperville Central High. And they have individual cardio programs for all the students. They started 15 years ago. They're the #1 school in the world at the moment. Individual cardio programs, 2 hours of cardio before they start the day, and then even during the day, when in class, they move. They're on bikes, they have balls to sit on, they're constantly moving. The attention rate goes up. The amount of learning capacity goes up. The ability to creatively problem solve goes up. Moving and doing cardio is a great way to stimulate creativity, to enhance the connectivity in your brain. Well, a lot of officers have come up to me and said, we would like to do this intervention. It's called microdosing, and the image already suggests it's fun to do. This is about taking small doses of psychedelic substances like LSD or mushrooms. It was initially done in California, where people found out that it actually helped for them to concentrate and to creatively problem solve better. It's about taking 1/10 of the normal dose, which might suggest that I know what a normal dose is, but I don't. But at least make sure that you take 1/10 of whatever that is, because that allows you, that doesn't have the negative effect of the psychedelic substance, but it does allow you to really open up your mind and get into the right state to come up with ideas. This is a weird break-off, which has to do with the font that didn't load in the keynote. Because it says neurofeedback, it's one word actually. And neurofeedback is about electroshocking. Now that sounds more interesting than it is. It actually, when you think, your brain sends out brain waves, little electrical impulses. If we are able, with EEG, to fire back these and basically return these signals, we can get you in the right state of mind to be more creative, which is the alpha state, which is the lower arousal state that your brain needs to be in for all the doors in your mind, all the dots in your mind to connect. Neurofeedback. Well, this is also great. Moderate ideas. I mean, I'm a creative director. I go like, that's wrong, that's right, that's wrong. It's like Tinder for ideas. But that's actually bad. You should keep moderate ideas and bad ideas in the mix longer. So don't discard them straight away. Just keep them in the mix, because like with the dots in your head that Steve Jobs talks about, these are little points in your head that you can actually use to create new ideas from. So don't shoot down a bad idea when you see it straight away. I love this one, opposing views. So there was a test done, and it was about solving a crime puzzle. And there were groups of 4, and they had to solve the crime. And they got 3 suspects, what they had to choose from. And they got like eyewitness reports, and they got all the information, and they needed to find out who did it. So half of the groups of 4 were 4 friends, and half of the groups of 4 were 3 friends and a stranger. The 4 friends came to a succession rate of 50%, which is super low if you think it's actually just taking 1 out of 3. Anyway, 50%. The groups of 3 friends and a stranger came to a succession rate of 75%, significantly higher. When you asked the group of 4 friends, how did you do? They went like, oh, we did great. We were really clicking, it was really going well. I think we did really good. And they didn't. And when you asked the 3 friends and a stranger, they were going like, it's super awkward, we didn't do well, it was very annoying, and they scored really well. And the reason for that is, if you have a stranger in your midst, you're not able to rely on the pathways in your head that you have with your friends, because you know them, you know how they think. You basically do the routine. Now, routine is something that we humans like, because routine doesn't cost a lot of energy. But actually, if you want to get to new ideas, if you want to get to creative ideas, then routine is a killer. You need to get out of the pathways that have been forming in your head over the past few years. You need to get out of those pathways. And a stranger can really help you to actually get out of these existing pathways. So next time when you have a meeting, go out in the street, get someone in, just tell them it's free coffee and cookies, but get them in. It really works. It really stimulates creativity. It grows your own creativity because it gets you to places because you can't rely on the old ways and the old thoughts in your head. And of course, there's food. There's always food. I mean, creativity is a neurochemical process, and food actually plays in on that process. Back to Steve Jobs again. This is an apple, but this could as easily have been a carrot, because Steve Jobs had a diet of apples and carrots. And the reason for that is because apples and carrots, they have this amino acid called tyrosine, and tyrosine helps you with your convergent thinking. So it helps you to actually focus on coming up with that one single problem. So he ate a lot of apples and carrots. Now, I don't know what that had to do with the disease that he basically died from later, but when he was alive, he came up with some pretty good ideas. We all have to agree on that. Apples and carrots, tyrosine. Now, there's theanine, L-theanine, which is in tea, for instance. That's an amino acid that actually helps you to diverge your thinking, to come up with multiple solutions. So in food, there's a lot of triggers, a lot of things that you can do as a creative to enhance your creativity. Now, the reason why I do this talk is because I'm setting up the research, and I'm going to do this research across the globe to find out which intervention actually stimulates creativity best, and then apply that on the bigger scale to build an army of creatives to end up with intergalactic domination. But what you can take out of this is actually, if you think about the brain, and if you think about how we can basically enhance creativity in your brain, then that's something that you can apply with little things on a daily basis. You can take a longer walk, you can eat differently, cardio is a great way. So think about that when it actually helps. I use Waze, the app, to get to work now, because the one in my car suggests the same route or the same reroute every time. Waze tells you a different route every day. And I feel refreshed when I get to work because I have a different scenery, I have a different way to drive to work. It's small things like these that actually help you to think and to open your brain. So that's my main message of today. It's basically, love your brain. Thank you.